Hello and welcome to this video edition of Kitchen Excellence Week 2022. I'm delighted to be joined today by Rebecca Vincent, who is the Commercial Director at Foster Gamko. She's here to talk about developments in the refrigeration sector and discuss the growing importance of energy efficient solutions in the marketplace. Rebecca, what are the key trends you're seeing at the moment in terms of demand for food service refrigeration?
So I think with supply chain issues at the moment, restaurants are looking to produce and store more product so that they've got it when they need it to serve customers ultimately. And for this, they need refrigeration products that are going to keep their product fresher for longer ultimately. We've also seen a trend towards freezers. So I think people are needing freezers more than ever to help react to demand. And something that's always been a case in point for operators has been food waste, as we all know. But now with food inflation as it is, we're seeing it everywhere, aren't we, on the news about rising food costs. No one can afford to throw any food away and they don't want to waste any products. So it's really important to have reliable refrigeration that they can trust. Equally, the labour market, staff shortages is rife. Hospitality industry as a whole has really struggled, hasn't it, with regards to staffing. So we found that easy to use equipment is really important as well at the moment, and easy to maintain. So there's some key trends that we're seeing. And I think, lastly, not lastly, most notably is the technology focus. Across the kitchen, the role technology can play is already fairly significant. And that'll only continue to grow, I'm sure.
Sure. Yes. So you picked out quite a few issues there that operators are facing. What is Foster doing to try and meet the challenges that operators are kind of encountering on a daily basis?
Yes, supply chain issues mean operators need security of supply more than ever. So we're obviously got a monumental effort going on in the background to make sure that we can meet that supply. Similarly, cash is king. Everyone's struggling with regards to cost inflation and what have you. So offers and solutions like our interest-free credit are as strong as ever. Now that people can couple that to the UK government's super deduction tax means that there's never been a better time to buy new equipment for sure. Essentially, the operator can save 25p in every pound they spend on new equipment, which is really important at the moment. And just in addition to the interest-free credit that we offer, we also now offer a leasing. So as with any leasing, it's 100% tax deductible, but it's also at really competitive rates, mainly because we're partnering with ITW Fed Leasing. So it's in-house as opposed to outside.
Sure. Okay. Cost management, is a real focus for operators right now. I guess when you look at fridges and freezers, the one thing that immediately stands out is they need to be kept on for 24 hours a day. Can operators do anything to minimise running costs of that kind of equipment?
Yeah, sure. It's a really good question. Absolutely, refrigeration runs 24/7, doesn't it? It's ultimately the backbone of professional kitchens, and when it fails, the business will fail. So it's really important to have reliable refrigeration. I think it seems a bit obvious, but purchase products that have got efficient energy grades in the first instance, for instance. We're all feeling the impact of these increased energy bills. So when you're paying 25, 30p per kilowatt hour, or some operators are probably paying more than that now, genuine energy efficient equipment will make the world of difference, especially when those products are running 24/7. I think the only other thing within the operator's control is really to not overlook the way that they're using the equipment. So try and keep door openings to a minimum, for instance, and make sure there's no issues with door seals, and keep up with preventative maintenance. All those kind of factors will help minimise running costs.
Sure. Energy efficiency, has really gained such prominence in the current market. When you're looking at refrigeration, is the climate class of the unit the single most important consideration that operators need to bear in mind when it comes to determining the energy efficiency of a potential item of equipment?
I think when it's in combination with energy grades, the climate class is important to consider in terms of the conditions of your kitchen. So, a higher climate class means the product can maintain temperature in hotter conditions. But higher climate class products will therefore have a higher cooling capacity, for instance, at a lower climate condition, so potentially use less energy in that environment. A good example would be our G3 product is rated to climate class 5, meaning it will operate in the hottest of conditions. So if you put that same product in a nice cool kitchen, for instance, it will operate with ease and consume much less energy as a result. But on the flip side, a product with a low climate class will have less capacity to maintain temperature, and then it will use more energy trying to do so, if you see what I mean. So the real thing to look at for operators is the energy grade itself, as in the overall energy efficiency, I would suggest. But again, you know, the temperature of the condition of the kitchen is one thing. How the operators use the product is again really important. So many of our fast food customers, for instance, they've got really aggressive demanding usage patterns on our fridges, so we have to make sure that we take a lot of care in the design to make sure that those products won't let them down. It's the same for all equipment ultimately.
Sure. And what advice would you give to operators that are looking to upgrade their refrigeration equipment this year? I mean, is there anything they need to be aware of that they might not ordinarily have thought about in the past?
Obviously, it's tempting to look at capital outlay, isn't it, always, but total cost of ownership is really important at the moment. The initial outlay might be a little bit more, but a product obviously with a low energy grade, a robust design, it's going to save them money in the long term. And as I said before, you know, unreliable refrigeration can have a devastating impact on the business itself. It's like that age-old adage, isn't it? Buy cheap, buy twice, or you get what you pay for, that kind of thing. So I think choosing refrigeration just based on the initial cost means you're not taking into consideration their ongoing running costs. We said earlier on that, you know, they run 24/7, and also considering the cost you may have to outlay repairing it if you haven't really invested in some good quality equipment in the first instance. But ultimately, you know, with all these energy bills rising, understanding your ongoing running costs is more important than ever. We're actually really pleased that majority of our customers are really starting to understand that rhetoric's really changing, and I think people are aware that it's really worth paying a little bit more in upfront to have energy efficient and food safe products in the long term. I guess something else that might be worth considering that they might not have done before would be perhaps flexible equipment. So, you know, we have a flex drawer that allows a customer to switch from fridge to freezer, for instance. So going back to supply chain demands and what have you, supply chain issues, it enables an operator to be able to facilitate a viable menu if they've got that flexibility to ramp up or ramp down to high or low temperature produce that they need. And I guess lastly, it's been around for some time now, but the whole blast chiller, it's great for food wastage at the end of the day. If you want to avoid any food wastage, set the blast chill cycle and it will switch over to a holding fridge at the end of the night, and when you come in the next morning, that food's nicely safe within a refrigerator at the end of the day.
Okay, great advice. And just as a final point to end on, what's the main focus from a product development perspective this year at Foster Gamko? Are there any new innovations in the pipeline that you can share at this stage?
Good time to ask. We've not long launched our EcoPro G3, which is full of new innovations, from our accurate and consistent temperature control as part of our Foster Shield, through to our pioneering airflow redesign through CFD airflow mapping, which basically means we can get cold air everywhere we need to within the cabinet, no hot spots, absolutely protecting our customers from the dangers of unsafe food storage. But we've also innovated around our Stay Clear condensers. We've got the next generation of Stay Clear condenser across our entire range. That includes the counters. And compared to a traditional fin condenser, the Stay Clear means that a cabinet will consume 36% less energy after 12 months, which is a significant saving on your long-term operational costs, of course. Just basically means a low cost, low energy efficient fridge stays low energy efficient, you know. And probably the innovation I like the most about the G3 is the Pure Control. Ultimately, our new controller display uses pure LED, incorporating in-GaN technology like your smartphone, so it's really sharp, really clear, much higher resolution and lasts longer and uses less power. In terms of clarity and visible viewing angle, it's 100% best in class, which is great. So ultimately, you know, with the G3, you get the best of both worlds, high performance coupled with low energy, all designed by the refrigeration experts. But of course, you know, we're Foster Gamko and we're always innovating. So in terms of product or services, there's a lot more to come, and you just have to watch this space, I guess.